You should remember that you were born to die.
I hate it. I hate hearing myself talk. All right, this is a brand new podcast called The Dead Kids Club, and we're going to talk about all sorts of things here, mostly death-related. Sometimes we go on tangents, not necessarily death-related. We're just going to talk about archaeology and forensics and make wild accusations periodically. And so I'm Aaron, and here in the lovely Bone Lab from which we are recording is Lisa and Marie. We're all PhD students here studying archaeology.
Right. This is a great start. Great start.
Yeah.
Well, just like every single time they start doing that, we stop talking so that we can kind of then continue smoothly without like any interaction, right?
Absolutely.
We're just gonna take a quick pause for the construction.
It's a pause from our sponsors, the construction guys who fuck up our building every day and drill into the wall of our office for the entire workday.
Instead of actually fixing this entire building which is falling apart and is completely useless. Maybe we shouldn't say that.
Oh shit, yeah. They're graciously letting us use this facility for free. Actually, not for free. We're paying a shitload of money.
No,
to record this fucking podcast here. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, we're paying. Yeah.
Horrendous amounts.
Amounts of money.
So hopefully this really takes off. We can make some money out of it.
So that we can pay off our student debts.
Yeah, that's really all I'm hoping for, is to be able to pay some student
to be
debt.
How delightful
what they say, in the green, in the black. What is it when you don't have negative money?
I don't know, I've never not had negative money. It's just been like a perpetual degree after degree.
Since I was born.
Yeah.
And somehow born with the eternal
Silver
sin.
spoon.
No, like, the sin that we get passed on from Adam and Eve, and somehow born with like...
Original sin?
Yeah, that one.
What does that have to do with being poor all the time?
No, with having a debt. Like, you were born with debt.
I guess.
But if you die, you don't have to pay your student loans.
It's true. That's really the ultimate release, is just being dead. Which is
Funny that you're talking about that.
It's a great natural segue
into our death
yes,
things that we love.
which is what we're here to talk about today.
What are we gonna talk about today, Lisa?
Today we're going to talk about body farms.
Body
Marie.
farms.
Yay, body farms!
They're sort of in the popular mindset all the time.
Yeah, I
People
think-
know about them.
I think they're increasingly becoming more like
Yeah.
known about, especially with the tabloids. Some fun language that I saw. I don't know. I can tell you.
What did you
I
see?
saw an article titled "Dead Bodies Wanted: Macabre Corpse Farm in the UK," and the corpse farm was in capital letters, and every single time they used the word corpse in the entire article, it was in capital letters. Like, the entire word was corpse.
Hell yeah.
Because that's how we talk about science.
Mm.
And then there was one title is "Corpses left to rot on US body farms in the name of science are coming to the UK."
The same decaying bodies are coming to the UK.
They're going to ship them over. We just get the dregs here in the UK.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
right.
can't get your fresh ones. You get the leftovers from the US. Like, we're done with these here.
They sent them on the standing.
Also, they said bodies farm instead of body farms.
Who said
So
that?
it's
It's just bad grammar.
IB Times.
I've never heard of this publication.
It's not a
It's
publication.
not very reputable.
I'm also not very
I-
well read.
I would not reference this.
No? It's not like an academic source about body farms?
No, I don't know. No.
Well, the most famous one is probably the Tennessee one.
Yeah,
which
it's the
is
first one, isn't it? It's
the
the OG.
The OG body farm. And who was it founded by? Our boy, William Bass. Slick Willie Bass.
My boy Bass.
Yeah, our boy Bass.
Who is also the only person who ever worked on a body farm that likes the word body farm.
Yeah, because it's really called the Forensic Anthropology Center.
I mean, in Tennessee, yeah,
wrote
but I
that
think
down,
everyone tries something else. So it's like a taphonomic center.
Anthropology Research Facility is what the real name is. So body farm's way more catchy.
Also,
Nobody remembers.
anthropology means everything. Like, anthropology research facility can be like somewhere where you, I don't know, go and study the Vanuatu social systems, because that's literally what anthropology is all about.
Yeah, it's way too broad. I like body farm better, and I think that in the grand scheme of things, the public likes it better.
I think the one in Texas is called the Forensic Anthropology Research Facility, and they call it FARF.
It's just not very good.
Talking about fun acronyms, I found on the Wikipedia page, because I'm a scientist,
Quality
and that's
research.
where I can do my
Hey,
research.
Wikipedia as well. As long as it's well cited, you're okay.
Yeah. Oh, today I saw it was a Twitter. It was should academics say? It was like, how drunk did you get? Oh, I donated to Wikipedia.
Oh God.
But on the Wikipedia, when they were talking about like some sort of issues with the body farms and stuff like that, apparently there is an organization called the Solutions to Issues of Concern to Knoxvillians Sick.
Same.
And they carried banners that literally said, "This makes us sick," around the body farm.
I mean, they do really important work there. It's just like,
Yeah,
But
much
I wouldn't
stink
want to live
a little
next downwind from it.
on
Yeah.
that note, at my undergrad university, there was a body farm where they had pigs,
Mhm.
but
Hmm.
it was on the university agricultural farm,
Hmm.
and over time, it was just such valuable land that like housing developments built up around this body farm where there's just like rotting pigs and fields.
Ew.
And yeah, I think that luckily, like having the agricultural farm there, I think people mostly just think it's manure, but little do they know, beyond that fence, there's like dozens and dozens of rotting pigs.
Wow.
Well, they did on the Wikipedia page again. They did say that people actually could see the rotting corpses. So before, so they didn't put up the fences first properly, so people could see it from their windows, which I think is
like
a bit
me. Okay, that's understandable.
it's a
Like,
bit disturbing.
that drives down the property value.
Do they
Yeah.
just not have a fence?
Yeah, I guess they didn't have like a proper high fence, which they
Well,
do
and
have
then-
now.
It's like
The
a
one in
4-foot chain link
Tennessee-
fence.
I don't know if it started this big or if it's actually this big now. It's like 2 acres or 2.5 acres. Like, that's not that big. That's not a lot of
I don't know
land.
what acres
And
is.
one of the videos I watched said it has like 180, 200 corpses there.
I think
That's quite a lot.
Maybe
the
they
one in
don't-
Texas is massive. The one in
Yeah,
Texas
some of
is
them
like
are like 26
200
acres
or something like that.
that.
Yeah, that one's huge. But they opened the new one in Amsterdam
Oh, they did. I
this
didn't
year.
know.
This year they opened what they call taphonomic cemetery,
Oh, okay. That's
because
cute.
they actually bury the bodies, because
Good.
they don't leave them decompose, because apparently there is so little space in the Netherlands that as a murderer you would never leave a body unburied anyway.
Mhm.
So that first. Also, it's like 500 meters square or something, so it's super tiny.
Whoa,
And-
that is really small.
Yeah, it's super tiny, and they were worried about like people actually like flying with drones above it and like filming.
Oh.
I imagine that'd be a problem in the
Yeah.
States too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've not read anything.
which
about
is
it,
which is
but-
really funny, because one of the arguments against body farms is sort of like the disrespect we as researchers have towards bodies, but no, we don't. Like, it's the people who would take a
Yeah,
drone.
people are like,
Yeah.
come on, son, let's go out for a weekend of flying our fucking drone over this body farm to see
Which-
if we can see some corpses.
Which is super disrespectful. Well, we are like, no, these people donated our bodies, which we are
Mhm.
extremely grateful for, and we'll do valuable research on.
I know,
So
well,
then-
and then afterwards, a lot of them go to like the university collections.
Yeah, just the skeletal collections
Yeah.
for a long time afterwards. But so yeah, anyway, the one in Amsterdam, so also that, but also it would be stinky So they said like, oh, we need to bury them. But what I thought was really interesting was that they're gonna put like with the corpses, they're gonna put like some sort of technology to like actually measure what is happening inside of the grave.
Oh, cool.
Which is really cool because we actually have no idea about like if whoever studies, whenever you do any research on this, you have no idea what's going on inside till you dig it up. So.
One of the documentaries I watched was talking about how there's a big push to measure like the gases that come out of the grave for like years and years because there's talk of like cadaver dogs being able to smell like Civil War graves or like really old stuff.
I did read that.
They want to see like what kind of levels come out and for how long. So yeah, Bill Bass was talking about how Professor Bass. One of his grad students was doing this project and had been tracking it for like 4 years.
Yeah, no, I did. When I was looking at like the decomp and stuff, the fluids that just like seep into the ground, they're there for decades. They really mark the ground for.
Well, and
for
it
a
would
while.
absolutely depend on sort of the conditions as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and like what type of soil and things like that. But it does leave a mark.
Well, I think there's a really big disconnect between forensics and archaeology. Mm-hmm. And a lot of archaeologists tend to forget that even though the body's in a grave in a certain position, that body actually decomposed in the grave as well, which is like a really dynamic process and moves the body around quite a bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then, in archaeological context too, like into Victorian burials when you have like the lead coffins where you basically just get kind of this soup they excavate with some bones in it.
That's so gross.
Still?
Yeah.
Like they.
Well, because if the coffins are sealed well enough, it just
everything
contains.
Oh, that's true. I did actually read an article about they found a grave with like one of these very, very good coffins. Mm-hmm. But somebody was trying to get into it. I don't know. And they found a body which was in such a good condition that they actually called a forensic anthropologist.
Yeah, that was one of the docs.
It was the Civil War War death.
And that kind of gets into why like they started a lot of these because they just didn't really understand a lot of these processes. So a lot of these body farms, the big push is to just track how these decomposition processes happen, and in all of these different scenarios that you might encounter in a criminal sort of setting. So I think that's something really important that they're pushing for.
It's difficult though because they're all so specific.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think the ones that they, for example, what they're studying at Tennessee only applies to bodies that are left on the surface in the same climate?
Yeah.
And not ones that are buried. Nothing. There's like almost nothing done about indoor things.
But also, most of the body farms in the US are in the South, which obviously quite a lot of them are.
Yeah, I think there's a few. There's the one in like Chicago or whatever, or Illinois.
But I think they don't usually use humans.
No, there's definitely. I think there's like there's 6 body farms in the US. I think there's one in Australia.
Yeah.
And now there's one in Netherlands. Mm-hmm. So obviously, America is so vast, but like it's got a very especially the South has a very specific climate, and then Australia obviously I think that's like near Sydney, so that's very hot.
Yeah, it's like
it's a secret location near Sydney.
Yeah.
Nobody knows where it is.
Yeah, in the Blue Mountains. I wrote it down.
Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
And then you have Netherlands, which is just wet, like Britain, wet and rainy and.
Well, yeah, they need to...
very, very humid, and I think humidity does so much decomposition. Like very wet environment is just, that affects it completely differently. So that's kind of obviously why a lot of people push for more body farms here in the UK, despite it being very illegal and difficult to do. Mm-hmm. And I guess geographically, because it is a much smaller island than the US is, but it's just a difference. But also one of the researchers from the documentaries on the body farms, or what they said, like, you have two people, you put them in a completely different, completely same conditions, like in a completely same way, and they decompose differently, because, and there was a beautiful sentence, they were unique in life, so they're unique in death.
Oh, fuck yeah, I wrote that one down too. That was the Aussie documentary, right? The announcer in that one was so, you could tell he was like really trying to push him to just like describe how like scary and macabre everything was.
It's really macabre. It's like, no, I've been doing it for years.
Like all these seasoned forensics researchers are like, well, it's just like kind of part of the job.
Like, why do you do this? It's so gross. It's like, no, it's science.
Yeah,
it's
really important. You want to be able to contribute to these investigations.
But I think at the end, Professor, by the way, he was talking to her. He was like, "What do you see when you look at me?" She's like, "I see a skeleton. I see a skull."
That came up in a few of them. Like there was another one where like Stephen Fry is just touring through the States, and he's in Tennessee, and there's a part where he goes to the research facility, and the researcher there said the exact same thing. Like, "Oh yeah, I have this bad habit of looking at people in public and just like seeing their skull," which I do, and I know you guys probably do it too, where you're like on the
Simon talks about it a lot. Simon Helson, our incredible professor. I try to do it, but I'm not there yet. I think like I'm always like, I want to know how the skull looks like, and I try to focus on it, but like I can't.
You gotta start with bald guys. Start with bald guys. And you can see like the occipital protuberance and stuff.
I do love those.
Yeah, it's great. I remember there used to be a guy who came into the store where I used to work, and his skin was so taut against his bones that you could like you could see his maxillae and stuff. It was very bizarre, but also fascinating. So cool.
I guess, when you have old people.
Yeah, I suppose.
In skin. You can see them a bit more.
They're just closer to death.
Yeah, they're just that close.
They start looking like, oh my god. Respect, right?
They're living people. We respect the dead, for sure.
Yeah, that's what we do. We don't respect the living.
Well, we don't work with them as much.
No, not at all. Yeah, talking about body farms, there was a fun thing that was worth talking about is the fascinations in like crime drama with body farms. Mm-hmm. There's on Wikipedia, if you look at it, it's like within the media, like popular culture, there's a couple like CSIs and our favorite Bones and that sort of thing, where the murderers hide the body by dumping them in the body.
I think I saw an episode of Bones where they did that.
Yeah, there's a few of them, I think, and it's always the same premise. Yeah. To be honest, which is the same thing. Like when I talk to my friends about body farms, they're like, "Oh, that's great for murderers."
because they're well monitored.
Yeah.
Like you go there 4 times a day.
They're not just gonna be like, "Oh, where did this one come from?" We've just lost track of all of them. No, they're like all very well marked. And there's somebody writing a fucking experiment about it.
Yeah.
Like, they're not just gonna be like, oh, where did this one?
Yeah, you don't just take a body and like, I'm just gonna flag it here. And
but also though, if you think about it, like if you're doing an experiment on some of them, you probably have like, these are the few that you're actually looking at, and somebody else is looking at these ones, somebody else is looking at these ones, and you might just be like, oh, it's probably just like Bill dropped off another one, and somebody else is looking at that, and I'm not going to worry about it. He just
comes in with a bunch of bodies, just like, nothing to see here, folks. Just throwing these bodies out. That Bill.
Bill. It's Bill again. Or you just pretend you're a grad student.
I'm Dr. Bennett's new student. This is my research. Don't ask me any more about it.
What would you research if you were a serial killer on a body farm?
Oh God.
Oh, if you had to like come up with a fake thing that you were studying so that you could conceal the fact that you hid a body there, you mean?
Yeah. But also, I'm thinking, you know how you have like difference in serial killers? One of them tend to, what's the word? Like one of them more about sort of the death.
Yeah.
So that it's the killing that is interesting to them.
Okay.
And the others are about like kind of possessing the remains, possessing the corpse. So they kill really quickly, but then like, you know, mutilate the corpse and stuff like that. So I guess if we had a serial killer pretending to work on a body farm, that would probably be the second one, right? Because
they'd be keeping tabs on.
You could probably just do something about, like the serial killer revisiting the site and like disturbing the remains.
Yeah,
it's very like a meta serial killer.
Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy did that.
I don't know. That's a tough question because I think like a serial killer. I can't come up with my serial killer research project right on the spot.
Yeah,
I mean, I can barely articulate my own fucking research, so.
It'd just be so complicated that I think they would rather just keep it in the comfort of their own home.
Yeah. So I feel, but some serial killers are quite smart, so. As if I'm saying that all the grad students are really smart. We're here like, oh, how do we work this adapted?
How do we get out of this PhD? I don't know, let's start a podcast.
What happens to a body, Marie, when it decomposes?
Well, I went.
Is it gross, perhaps?
No, I love it. Oh, did I tell you the story how we went last year for a trip to see decomposing pig skulls, right? Which Lisa really enjoyed.
Did you throw up?
Yeah, I vomited. But Carolyn, our instructor, told me that I was the first student ever to vomit at the mock crime scene.
Woo.
So thank you.
Well, and I discovered that my nose doesn't smell decomp.
Just on the other end of the spectrum.
So because I was the only person holding the pigs, I was sticking them up. I held it, and everyone was like, "Oh, this is so disgusting." I'm like, "What do you mean?" I literally held them 10 centimeters from my nose. I was like, "I smell nothing."
Yeah.
And then
I couldn't even describe it, how it smells. It stinks. It's so gross.
It's rotting meat. That's how it stinks. And
Which is not a pleasant smell.
Yeah, and it did have adipocere on it. Oh, was it decomposing fat? So
yeah, it's when it turns like really waxy.
Yeah, well, soapy, I would say more. It's like,
yeah, I guess yeah. Because you can like poke into it, right?
Oh, yeah, it's soft. It's soft, and it happens in wet environments. When you have something nice and fatty, and it turns white and soapy, and it stinks. Apparently, it stinks really bad. Well, I didn't smell it.
I can attest it stinks.
My one undergrad professor, I remember her saying like, "Oh yeah, you'd never forget the smell of adipocere. Like it just doesn't leave you forever."
Yeah, I guess like if you have more of it rather than just a skull, like a pig skull, like if you find a body that is properly like decomposing in sort of wet soil or something, that's probably not a pleasant thing to recover at all. Also, it must be really difficult to actually like get it out of the grave, like.
It's very like sort of slapstick comedy.
Well, you just leave. You leave things behind, don't you?
But
or you try to take everything, including the soil around it.
I guess you want to do all of it. Yeah.
But the decomp really depends on the environment, as we've kind of discussed before, which, I mean, is exactly what they're doing at these places, is looking to see these different environments, or like how does fire affect things, and how does, like an aquatic environment affect it, or if it's covered or in the shade or whatever. So.
Even though I have a master's degree from forensic anthropology, I looked at Wikipedia and found out that there are actually
our favorite source.
7 stages of decomp, which I had no idea. I mean, I guess I never thought about it as like how many stages of decomp there are, but like it's with all of those, like basically what happens from the first moment the body, like you die, and how it goes, and so things that I never heard of was Power Mortis.
What is that?
I didn't write it.
You didn't describe it.
What it was?
No,
Oh, pallor mortis. Isn't that that's when you get really pale, right? Like in the
marbling?
Yeah.
No, that's marbling is livor mortis, apparently.
Just gonna do a quick.
Just go to the source.
Here.
So Wikipedia
the
says
paleness
pallor,
that
algor, rigor, livor, and then you have putrefaction, decomposition, skeletonization, and fossilization is part of decomp.
Yeah, pallor mortis is the first stage of death in an after-death paleness that occurs.
Oh, because all the blood is settling to the bottom. Because
but I thought that's
gravity, and it looks like
I thought that's livor mortis.
Well, let's just go to
Maybe
Wikipedia.
that's the process of the blood.
Liver is when it settles in the lower portion.
Yeah,
so
that
pallor, because you're pallid and you're pale.
True.
Yeah. Language.
Woohoo! And then algor mortis just means that you're getting cold.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not always cold because algor apparently means cold or whatever. I don't know. Words in Latin, not my thing. But obviously, if you are in an environment that is hotter, then you'll be getting hotter.
Yeah.
Because you're
becoming
your body,
and
part of the land.
That would mess up the sort of the timings of when, because a big part of a lot of this work is estimating like a post-mortem interval.
I think it's one of the main things.
Well, yeah, every single documentary.
Like all they
the first question is the first question everyone has.
So, like, if you're, as you said, in a hot environment and your body stays warmer, like that skews some of these estimations, which again gets back to why we need.
Does it affect the way the body decomposes if it's hot outside?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely, because it's different. Bugs and stuff are going to be attracted to it at different times, I think, and the sun and the humidity is going to be affected, and some, like, depending on how dry it is, it could mummify.
Yeah, was it the one in Texas or one in they all of them were just mummies.
A lot of them just mummify if they're above ground, because as long as the air is moving, as long as you have like moving air, the body tends to just dry out.
Yeah, if it's not too wet. Yeah, I don't think it would happen here.
And plus, one of the documentaries talked about how the insects will just burrow under the skin because they leave the skin as a protection from the sun.
Yeah.
So you just get this kind of husk over the bones, where Pillbass was just like, it turns into leather. It's like just shoe leather.
Just like my boots.
Yeah. You kick that bone around in that one.
No.
Yeah, and didn't you see that in one documentary?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he's like wandering around the farm, and he's like, oh, there's body here under those leaves. It's just getting scattered around. There's a humerus right there, and he like taps it with his boot back into.
He kicks it.
Yeah,
It was like he kicked it back closer to the rest of the body.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
Let's put that over
That's
here.
actually something I was thinking because in a lot of the body farms they did have cages, right? So that you don't have scavengers because that really influences how the body decomposes. But
and
obviously,
it would really affect the whole environment of the neighborhood if we were
that's
bringing in all kinds of weird
I was thinking
animals.
because some of them weren't in a cage.
Mhm.
Some of them were genuinely decomposed open and decomposed by you could see the vulture beak marks and stuff like that. But you would think that scavengers carry away the parts. Do you just take it outside of the body farm so suddenly you just have a part of a how do they control that it stays in the farm?
No, that's because you just like
just a bird just flies away.
Drops like a hand into your yard or something.
Ooh,
On a
gross.
completely unrelated note, do you remember when were you in the office when Tom was reading that article about the briefcase full of hands that they found in Siberia?
Oh no! Was it a briefcase? Was it actually?
It was a suitcase.
It was like something huge.
I think it was just like a big suitcase full of severed hands.
Yeah, I thought it was
Where did they find it?
It was just
Siberia.
in Siberia.
Where do you think?
But like in someone's hat? Like,
No, it was just on. I think it was on an island or something, like a
Yeah.
small island in a river. And I think official explanation.
It's like it was like
it's from
medical waste. It's like, why is it in a fucking
No,
suitcase?
that's false.
Can you imagine finding that, being like, oh, look at the suitcase. First, why are you investigating some random suitcase that you found in like a riverbank?
Would
But
you
then-
not though?
Oh, you see
No, I wouldn't, because it's probably
luggage
just,
all
like,
over the place, and you're not like, I
see
could use a
luggage
new
all over
bag.
the
True.
place. Yeah, but if they were like, imagine if it was like kids, like,
Yeah.
ooh, there's like treasure.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of bodies being found by kids. Isn't it? Like, I think a lot of it's always kids.
Like in a very Stand By Me. It's either kids or runners.
Oh yeah, it's dog
Hikers.
walkers. It's
Yeah.
a lot of dog walkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, finding a suitcase full of hands would be.
Pretty scary, especially if you're in
Nightmarish.
a fucking Russia.
Yeah.
And they were fleshy and everything?
Yeah, they were
I
like
think,
a
yeah.
Fresh?
frozen hands.
Okay,
'Cause
but what? Okay, even if it were medical waste, why are so many hands being cut off?
I don't know. Yeah. It's a terrible explanation. They're like, oh, this
How does it
hospital
work?
just couldn't dispose of them properly. So.
Got all these hands, it's getting out of hand.
That was bad.
Gross.
So how many people without hands are just walking around Siberia? Nobody noticed.
I lost it in a tragic accident.
What else happens to the body when it's decomposing, would you say?
Well, my favorite part,
What's your favorite part?
bloating.
Oh, okay. I was going to guess rigor. Okay.
I don't really understand rigor. Rigor is actually quite fun one. Because I was talking to my mates who obviously.
If you could rank them in stages of most fun to least fun.
Which one is the least fun? I'd say skin slippage is pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I would rank that
You like
higher.
skin slippage?
Really?
I think skin slippage is really interesting because I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts that I'm not sure we should mention or not. And they were talking about finding a hand
Uh-huh.
somewhere.
And
In
a suitcase?
completely unrelated.
And a completely
also
unrelated.
finding a hand
Also,
case.
They
it
found a
was
hand
not in
in a
Russia.
suitcase full of hands.
it was in the sea, I think. And the person who talked about it said that they could clearly see it was a sort of Caucasian or like Asian. That's what I'm paraphrasing. I would not use that word. Whatever. Probably, I don't know. Basically, it was not a black person. From the skin, obviously. But I was thinking, well, they don't know about skin slippage, do they? It was a decomposing hand.
Yeah, because the outer layer would just peel off.
Especially if it was in the sea.
And that's where all the
Colors,
pigment is, right?
Yeah, so it could have been anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an interesting point to what happens when we die, we all turn white.
Jesus.
Anyway, I was talking to my friend who knows nothing about death.
Okay.
She's not interested in it at all. Real shame.
So she's a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't understand these people. Anyway, and I was telling her because she didn't know about Victorian like child death photography, which I think is the best.
Oh man, I found like an old family album in my house. Yeah, my dad has a bunch from like his grandparents back in Czechoslovakia of the family like standing all proper around like the dead uncle.
Why aren't those photos our logo?
I'll
Dead Kids
I'll have to
Club.
get him to dig them out of the basement.
I don't. Yeah, but my favorite is when they dress the kids as if they're still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Can you
one.
imagine that? Like your
Especially when you have, like,
little
the-
brother dies of like
Oh.
consumption, and then you have to sit there for like 45 minutes for an old daguerreotype photograph.
But they're like creepily dressed.
Yeah, while like this corpse like kind of just bumps
You're gonna have to.
against you.
Yeah, you have to like prop it up.
Actually, there was like a trade in it where there was like wire armatures where you could like have your dead uncle or whatever like lean in a pose like
Yeah.
against a chair because he's like held up by a frame.
Well.
Whoa.
Very
with
weird.
a lot of those photographs, actually, they used these props even for living people because you had to be still for so long.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Yeah,
they
'cause, like,
actually,
the film wasn't as sensitive to like.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they actually used like had gears and stuff, so that you
They
didn't
were like
move.
strapped in.
Yeah. So even people who are alive had to have those.
Huh.
But so back to this friend. She was so I was talking to her about it, and she was completely fascinated. And she was like, "Oh, I guess like when you have them like all stiff, they stand."
What?
So she was like, so I was telling her about how they
Yeah.
dress these kids
Yeah.
when they were dead, and she was like, when they have like the rigor mortis, when they're like all stiff, I guess there's like
They're just like a cardboard cutout.
I was like, not sure that's how it works. But hey, here we are to explain how rigor mortis works. How does rigor mortis work?
Well, it doesn't last that long. It's like a couple hours, and then again, it depends
I
a
think
lot
it's
on.
like, isn't it really variable though?
Yeah, it would depend again on the environment.
Yeah.
And the people too, because we're all. What was it? We're unique.
In life,
Yes.
therefore we are unique in
Yeah.
death.
That's what it was.
I'm gonna get that tattooed.
Oh God, that would be the worst.
That would be so bad.
So yeah, you couldn't stand up a Victorian era dead child purely on rigor mortis.
Also, you
They
wouldn't
would have
be-
to photograph them like fairly short order after death. Well, I assume they would have to anyways, because you don't want like a very,
I mean, they must have.
very decaying.
They probably
Family
use
member.
loads of embalming, to be honest.
Well, yeah, you would just have to if you're gonna sit there for. You don't
In
want,
your house.
yeah, like your entire family coming over for these photos.
But it's not just the
Yeah.
photos. They did have a lot of open casket
Yeah.
funerals, and I guess death was like a big thing. You also had like a lot of romanticization of like the beautiful dead young woman and that sort of thing. So you wanted to keep them pretty as long as possible before the elements take them. Which I think embalming it's a really fascinating conversation, especially I think is it in the States that there are quite I mean I have no idea how much, but there are like some pieces of land which are poisoned basically from the embalming fluid that comes from the
Well, yeah, they've
decomposing
changed a lot of the
corpses.
regulations now. Like you need, I think, concrete liners and in burial plots because of that.
Yeah.
Or I think, but there is a movement back towards like not embalming.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
I mean you decompose anyway.
Yeah.
Why try to
Yeah.
like
Fill it full of chemicals.
why try to like make it longer, like like
Because we fill ourselves full of chemicals in life. So we do it in death.
Jesus.
embalming with cocaine.
Do you want to be on a body farm, Marie, when you die?
Absolutely. Like
Oh, really?
Oh yes.
I started looking into like the paperwork and stuff that you have to do.
Oh,
Well,
really?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it's very intense.
It's like a 5-page document. You gotta like check a couple boxes and sign it over.
Oh, really?
But you're, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's more of a process after that, I guess, but there's a few reasons why they wouldn't take you. I forgot to print it out, so I don't really remember them. You can't have any super infectious diseases. You can't have
really?
or have had HIV.
Because it could infect the people who are working with the body, or why?
I would imagine.
I guess so, yeah. I think maybe even tuberculosis. If you ever had tuberculosis, you can't
Ever
do it.
had?
If you ever had MRSA, any antibiotic resistant diseases, any kind of weird infectious diseases, you can't do it. But I was looking at the one in North Carolina, and it said that if you do have an infectious disease, or if you're embalmed, you can't do it if you're embalmed either. Then you can have yourself cremated and then donate your cremains, but they didn't say what they do with them, so I'm not really sure.
Well, all the skeletons, at least at the Tennessee one, they go into
The collection.
the teaching collection.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, there's the distinction. Some people will their bodies to, like, the body farm aspect for these decomp studies, and then other people donate them more to the teaching collection. Just say, like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
process the skeleton. And have my bones be used in the lab for
that's
teaching.
good. Everyone should do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely want. I was actually talking to some of our professors here, at this unnamed university, about how if I die, I want them to have all the bones. So they know my life history, because of the Great British laws about handling human remains. Just like, oh yeah, in 100 years.
What's your archaeological?
Yeah. So.
Well, that's like why there's so much difficulty in opening up a body farm.
Absolutely, they have to change the laws for it. Which is funny because these, like, from what I remember reading about it and hearing about it, a lot of these laws were designed to kind of improve the sort of scientific advancements and the scientific position of Britain, within the position of Britain within the world global scientific community, but now it's just kind of hindering it on the other hand. So obviously these laws are also 100.
Well, the Human Tissues Act is from 2004.
Yeah, I mean that one is.
Yeah, so that's, I think, the one that governs a lot of...
Oh, I thought it was a lot of the sort of kind of where all of these laws come from is about body snatching and these sort of things.
Yeah.
So it was a lot about...
I'm sure they do have some basis in that. I mean, it's been a while since I've actually looked into the Human Tissues Act, but...
no. Yeah.
I don't think I want to be on a body farm.
Why not?
I don't know. It's just so gross.
I want some grubby grad student.
I don't know what I want.
Poking her Bill Bass, kicking your bones around.
I don't think I want Bill Bass to kick my humerus around.
Well, I'm not very attached to my corporeal body.
As opposed to the other one.
The other one that I don't have. After my death, because I presume I will not be needing it anytime soon afterwards. So I'm happy with... I mean, if somebody wants to use my skull as a cup, go for it.
That's a little weird.
Yeah.
I mean...
Whatever you want to do with my body, do it. Don't... Actually...
yeah, you may want to roll that one back.
Yeah, because everything we say here is binding.
That's what podcasts are. They're a legal contract.
You know what?
See, I would donate absolutely donate any useful organs, tissue to science. But I don't know if I'd want to decompose just on the surface. Whatever I can do, with the organs. Go for it.
I always thought I'm just going to be cremated because that's the kind of most rational way to deal with dead bodies. If you don't...
I want to be... This is a plan I've had for years and years. I want to be mummified and put in a wall. So
mummified like an Egyptian mummy, wrapped up?
Yeah, but in a scary kind of pose. So that I can fall out of a wall and scare somebody one day. There will be a builder who's renovating and they'll just
that's pretty cool.
fall out of a wall.
Oh yeah. That's actually great. I mean, on one hand, I think having your body donated to science is the best thing you can do.
But doing a prank after you're
having it donated to comedy
is probably above that.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting on your deathbed, really devising, and putting into your will, really devising, step by step.
You gotta find someone who's as shitty as you are to be okay, I'll carry this out. It's my dying wish.
No.
Your family's you're not doing that.
You have to force your family. It's do you love me? Do you love me?
I will want the
You
shit
will
out
have
of
to
you.
respect my wishes.
Christ.
Well, if you want to go on a body farm and your family doesn't want to do it, then
I don't think you can.
They have veto power.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Also, if you don't decide to donate your body while you're alive, and after you die, your family decides to donate you, they could do that as well.
Huh. That surprises me that they can just we'll just, we don't really want to deal with a funeral, so we've got that.
We'll just call up Bill.
That trip,
Have a
so
pull
we're
up and
gonna
pick up.
just leave it here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
They even pay for shipping.
Only if you're within
Yes,
100 miles.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
You have to be within 100 miles and in the state.
Okay.
In the state or
Mhm.
states.
The state.
Oh, okay. I guess, yeah, with different laws and stuff.
Or otherwise, you have to bring the body yourself.
Yeah.
Has to be
You
accompanied
have to bring
by...
yourself.
You have to just show up. It has to be accompanied by a death
Can you just
certificate.
go die on the doorstep of the
Can you just
research
like...
facility?
Bill's house.
Yes. Another one.
This
Yes.
keeps happening.
Think of all the research. Oh.
I presume you have to have a death certificate with the
You
body.
do. You can...
So he can't just sign the death certificate.
Well, I don't know what kind of connections he has with the law. Perhaps.
Maybe. He's got all the
Wanna
coroners or
disappear?
whatever in his
Yeah.
back pocket.
You a grad student and want to disappear? Call Bill has.
Well, I don't know. Allegedly. Allegedly. Oh boy.
So basically, even though I want to donate my body to a forensic facility or
Mhm.
whatever they call it, I can't because there is none in the UK.
Well, you don't have to die here, Marie.
But also, I don't want to die in Tennessee
I don't want to live in Tennessee.
or Texas or North
Hey, there's
Carolina.
one in Colorado. You can go to Colorado.
Yeah.
But I think that one is pigs.
Well, close enough.
I wasn't gonna go there.
Australia.
Yeah, go to the Aussie one.
Oh yes. Oh, I definitely want to die in Australia. And it's so easy as well. There's a lot. There's a lot to kill you there. Well, or the Netherlands. Just a bit nearer,
Oh, yeah.
I presume.
They ship dead people all the time.
Like if you die over state or country lines, like I think it's a mountain of paperwork.
Really? It's a logistical nightmare.
It's a logistical nightmare. Some like bureaucrat, he's like, oh no, I gotta process all this paperwork.
But why? It's just dead body. Oh, that might be the issue, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a
it's
dead
to
body.
avoid people like just shipping corpses and like just a
Murdering
modern day
people.
sort of body snatching, I think.
Or just like murdering people and being like, oh, this is my mom. She died in the next state over, and I just brought her over.
I know.
Allegedly.
I know. I met somebody once or twice, but this person is a very sort of. It was fun. He had a lot of interests, I would say, and one of his interests was, I think he was like collecting bones and stuff.
Where did he get them?
And I think this is
This is somebody you knew?
this is somebody my friends knew, and I met
Was
a
his
few
name
times.
Bill?
And it's also a story that I've heard from people, so
Okay.
don't know about the.
So it's all hearsay.
It's very much hearsay and allegedly.
Okay.
So
But-
it's true.
Allegedly means true.
But apparently he browsed the internet and bought himself a historical, medieval, or whatever. I don't know the timing. Well, basically bought himself a human skull on the internet.
Okay.
I guess thinking it was old or whatever. It was from Romania.
Well, you could buy like medical collections.
It came
and
with a
stuff.
filling.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's not that old.
that's
is it?
dark.
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember being at like a house party years and years ago, and somebody had like a skull cap.
Oh, what?
Yeah, that they were just like drinking out of.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was like
a real.
like past the
Wow.
skull cap around. I don't know, because this was prior to me studying any
Did you-
anthropology. So
Did
it was
did you attend a satanic ritual?
Did you drink from it?
I didn't drink from it because I was like, this is probably disrespectful. Like I don't feel comfortable doing this.
Probably
Good for you.
But No, I wasn't at a satanic ritual. I don't think. It could have been. I don't know. There was no
You never know.
There was no candles or like
Mm.
naked people being cut open.
I'm
or
surprised there were no
all the other
candles while there was a
stereotypes
skull cap being passed around. You would think that these
It was
two
just
things
full of
go
like
together.
really shitty whiskey, I think.
Ugh.
No blood.
No blood. That was later, I think, after we left.
yeah, like in the basement
Yeah.
with the naked people.
Yeah, we didn't get invited to the ritual part. We were just there for like the
Cocktail
sort of
hour.
the cocktail hour, this satanic ritual.
Yeah. I went to the Satanic Christmas market,
Oh yeah.
which was kind of shit.
Is that where you got me that like teeth ornament or
Yes.
whatever?
Yes,
Oh, for the Secret Santa.
yeah. But there was one of the stalls was a lot of jewelry made out of generally animal. It was mainly animal bones, a lot of rabbits and
Yeah.
chicken and that sort of thing. But then there was a big like a choker thing, which was from a human vertebra. I think it was the first vertebra, and I was like looking at it because it was covered by a lot of stuff, so I couldn't really get the texture or anything. So I was like really looking at it, trying to like figure out if it's a real human or not. And this lady just looked at me really excitedly, the one that made it. She was like, "It's a human vertebra," and I was just like, "Yeah, no, not sure about that." Because I'm just like, I don't want it. It's fine, but yeah, not sure how ethical it is to wear a human bone on your neck.
No, unless it's from your family or something like that. If I ever have to have my hand cut off in like a horrific sort of
Mafia.
Russian mafia related thing,
Oh,
I hope they let me keep the hand because then I would turn it into like some sort of
A glove?
no, not a
Oh,
glove. Like I turn
bro.
I'm wearing my hand like a
On
necklace
your
or something. I don't know. You get all the phalanges.
hand?
Talking about glove from a hand.
Is this back to skin slippage? Because that's
No.
where I thought you were gonna go with it.
We should have, but what I was going to talk about is getting fingerprints from dead bodies.
Yeah, and you gotta put.
You
them
actually
on
have
the
to put
glove.
that.
You have to put your hand in the skin
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then do the fingerprint as if you were the finger, right?
Yeah.
But that's only if the skin is no longer on the body, right? Can't
Yeah,
you just,
I think.
couldn't you just like pick up the finger?
I guess it depends how old the remains
Yeah, I
are.
don't know.
But you would also think they would come up with like something to put into it. So
Yeah, so you're
doesn't
not
have to
just
be your own,
wearing somebody else's skin, like
Yeah.
Ed Gein style.
because that is just kind of
Did he wear?
Did he
it?
wear
I
skin or
thought
did he just like
he
make
made
lamps
it
and
into
stuff?
Furniture.
yeah. I think it was furniture.
But I mean, if you're gonna,
Yeah, I don't know if. Yeah, maybe.
if you
He
do
started
one,
with
I
furniture.
think you do the other.
Yeah.
Then it's a skirt,
I don't know.
Lampshade skirt.
a kilt.
Shit. That's a lot of material.
But
For all the
Yeah, you have
pleats.
to do all
The pleats. Oh boy.
Okay, shall we go back to skin slippage?
Yeah, sure.
Uh-huh.
Or I don't know. We could end on that lovely Ed Gein note, I guess. Making a kilt out of human skin.
The magnum opus.
Hey everybody, it's that time again. It's time for us to tell you about how you need to give us some likes on iTunes.
Give
Yeah,
us some love
give
on
us some
iTunes.
love. Those 5-star reviews. If you can give us 3 stars, 4 stars, go fuck yourself. I don't give a shit what you write. We'll read whatever you say on the podcast. But if you give us 5 stars, we love you. So,
So yeah,
you know, like, review, subscribe.
share and share.
Yeah, tell your mom, tell your dad.
Especially tell our 10-year-old cousins.
Yes,
Little
tell little
cousins.
children. We want to indoctrinate them early. We're like a goddamn cult.
Yeah. Send
Yeah.
us your money.
Send us your money,
Thanks.
or at least pay my rent. That's
Mhm.
all I really want.
Groceries.
Groceries, rent, occasional beer. All right, well, you know, just give us those likes, give
Rate,
us
review,
those subscribes.
Kisses.
We love you. Goodbye.
I think you're just okay. Thank you.